In this video, we'll be talking about perimeter and circumference. The perimeter of a figure is the border of that figure. So we're basically trying to figure out the total length of the border of the figure. So an example will look something like this. This figure here, what is the perimeter of this figure? To find out, we simply would take each of the measurements as we go up. That's 5, 6, 5, 6. So we would simply take 5 plus 6 plus 5 plus 6. So the answer is 20 units. Now what about this figure? What we are missing are here and here. So what is the length of these? To figure this out, this side is 10 and this side is 6. So that means this length must be 4. And since we know that this length here is 10 and this length is 6, so this length must also be 4. And now we have all the lengths of the sides. So what we can do then is add them up. So we would take 10 plus 6 plus 4 plus 4 plus 6 plus 10. And that will equal out to 40 units. So a lot of the perimeter questions is gonna be a figure and we're missing lengths of the sides. So what you want to figure out first are all the lengths before you add them together and get the perimeter. Next, we are going to talk about the circumference of a circle. Circumference of a circle is the perimeter of a circle. So we're talking about the border of this circle, and the formula for the circumference is either pi d or 2 pi r. I typically like to use 2 pi r. A lot of the questions that are given is they're usually providing you the radius rather than the diameter. So the r here is the radius, whereas d here is the diameter. Either way will work, depends on your preference. A question will usually start with a circle like this and provide you with a radius. So this would be the r, and this would be the diameter. And if the question provides you with radius of 6 cm, for example, and wants you to find out what the circumference is, all you have to do is take the 2 pi r formula here and simply plug in the 6. So we have 2 pi times by 6. And pi is a long number with 3.14, but we normally shorten it as 3.14. So to solve for this, the circumference will be 2 times 3.14 times by 6. And that will equal to 37.68 cm. And that's how you find the circumference of a circle. Now, what if you were provided a question with asking for a circumference of a circle with diameter of 8 cm? Here in this example, we could take the pi d formula, because the diameter was provided rather than the radius. So you could simply just take pi times 8. So that equals 8 pi. And as we know, pi is 3.14. So then we have 3.14 times by 8. And that equals 25.12 cm. Now, if you want to use the other equation, which is 2 pi r, then you would need to first divide the diameter by 2 to get the radius. So by dividing 8 by 2, we will have 4 cm as the radius. So we take 2 pi r, which equals 2 pi times 4 equals 2 times 3.14 times by 4 equals, and the answer would be 25.12 cm as well. So as you can see, either formula will get you the same answer. So feel free to use any of the two formulas to find the circumference. Now, what if you were provided with a figure like this, where it has a rectangle as well as half of a circle? So what we want to figure out here, the perimeter of this figure is the outside portion. And the first thing that we'll notice is that what we're missing from this is the length from here to here, as well as here, the half of the circumference of this circle. And the reason why it's half because you're not counting the entire circle. So this portion of the circle does not apply. Now, what is the length of this side? Since we know the other side was 14, so this length must also be 14. Okay, so we got one part of it done. Now we need to find half a circumference of the circle. From this figure, we see that the number 5 is the radius. So to find the circumference of this half a circle, we take 2 pi r equals 2 times 3.14 times by 5. This would give us 31.4 units. But remember, this is the whole circumference of the circle. What we're looking for was half of that. So the half of that would be 15.7 units. Okay, so now we've taken care of the half a circumference of a circle. Now we just have to add the rest of the sides to get the final answer. So we have 10 plus 14 plus 15.7 plus 14. And that equals 53.7 units. And that's your final answer. Okay, and some of the questions that are provided to you will be asking for the answer to the length of the side rather than the whole perimeter. And the question might ask you something like this. If the perimeter is 16 feet, what is x? To find out the answer for this, we need to write out all the information that we know thus far. So we know that if this side, the right side is 2 feet, that means the left side must also be 2 feet. Now if the bottom is x, that means the top portion must also be x. So we can write the equation like this. 2 plus 2 plus x equals 16. Okay, so we have 2 plus 2 equals 4. Plus x means it's 2x equals 16. So if we move the 4 to the other side, we will end up with 12. So now we have 2x equals 12. We divide that by 2, and the answer is 6 feet. Now I want to check the work just to make sure that it checks out. We can add up all the sides and see if it matches the perimeter of 16 feet. So we would take 2 plus 6 plus 2 plus 6. After adding them up, we will have 16. So this checks out. This means that the answer we found is correct.